This is the White Coat Investor Podcast, Milestones to Millionaire, celebrating stories of success along the journey to financial freedom. Welcome back to another episode of the Milestones to Millionaire podcast. This is your host, Thisha Spath, and we're on the White Coat Investor. Today, we have the pleasure of having an orthodontist, and she's going to tell us her story about how she paid off $540,000 in 4 years. Holy cow, I can't wait. First, a word from our sponsor. We're sponsored today by DLP. DLP is a familiar name within the White Coat Investor community as longtime members of our investment opportunities list. If you want to invest with a high-growth impact investor that believes in doing well while doing good, we encourage you to check out DLP. Their real estate-backed investments build wealth and prosperity for all of their members, investors, clients, and partners. Plus, their funds have historically had zero losses. Find out more at www.whitecoatinvestor.com/DLP. If you're thinking of getting into investment housing, they should definitely be on your radar. All right, let's get into our interview today. Welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, can you tell us about your profession and how far you are out of school?
So I'm an orthodontist, and next month, I'm almost 5 years out of residency.
Okay.
And I'm practicing in the New York area. And been practicing here ever since, from the beginning of graduation.
Wonderful. So you're like in New York City proper.
Almost. So I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, but I settled here. I like it.
Wow. Wow. Talk about high cost of living.
Yes. So it's no joke, but it's doable. It's all you got to do is stay in the plan.
So in the setting of this high cost of living area, tell us exactly how much you paid off.
So as I was preparing for this podcast, actually very mind-blowing, just writing down the numbers, but the exact amount was $548,928.05.
Oh my God.
Yes. So, Mm-hmm.
Holy cow. Congratulations. And how long did that take you?
Thank you. So that took me approximately 4 years and 2 months.
Wow.
Because when I started this journey, I didn't necessarily start being heavy on my loans. I mean, I wasn't really sure of how to address the loan situation, especially because when you're in school, there's so many routes that you can take. There's so many philosophies where you can invest and then you pay it off, or you kind of like let them ride and let them kind of service themselves, or the government at some point might forgive. But I feel like I started heavily on them, I would say a few months and not even from the beginning yet.
Wow. So what made you decide to just go ahead and pay it off?
So I graduated. I didn't even get my license right away. It took me some time. Then I started working, and then a good friend of mine, her name is Anna Louise, she listens to the show. She handed me this book. She said, "Hey, you should read this book. It's called The White Coat Investor. It has good tips for taxes and finance and all that." So I started reading on it, and the whole concept of living as a resident, it just made so much sense because we've been experts on delaying gratification for such a long time, and that is, some people I guess do feel comfortable with it, but I do come from a background where my parents are not at all. Like, my dad is very, he does all these investments and everything pretty much from his own financial well-being, like no debt at all. And it just fascinated. Plus, I didn't really come from, it was kind of like a frugal household. So to me, just getting accustomed to the income slowly just made more sense. And from there on, I realized, look, this is actually doable. And then I started looking at the numbers, seeing how much money I owe. And something that I discovered with my loan servicer that I don't know if a lot of graduates know this, like recent grads, I think this applies especially to those graduating this summer, that when you go and look at your loans online, you're going to have the cap of the loan, like the principal, and you're going to have the interest, and they're separate, and they'll remain separate during that grace period. So that means that all this money on interest, in my personal situation, I had almost $100,000 that accumulated just from being in school. So all of
Wow.
that money, if you can keep as much as you can on that before it's capitalized, it's almost like free money. So yeah, I realized that, and obviously, I just started working. My checks would go right away to all the little courses that I already took, and I was building on savings. But I try as much as I can to hit that interest before it actually tapped and became principal altogether. So I think it's an awesome
Yes, that's
tool.
so
If
smart.
anyone that can do it, I highly recommend it
Yeah.
because it's going to decrease your total loan amount.
Yes, that capitalizing interest is the magic of compounding interest when we talk about investing. But when you have debt and your interest is capitalizing on your debt, that magic of investing is completely working against you. You're going the opposite direction. Your interest is becoming more debt. It's the it's the seventh wonder of the world when it's working for you. But if it's working against you, you have to know the details, and you need to know how to get yourself out. You if you can pay down the interest before it capitalizes, that is the best thing you can do for yourself, because that interest, once it capitalizes and becomes principal, then starts earning more interest
Exactly.
every
It's
single
interest over
day.
interest. Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Well, great job. So tell us how you did it. How did you pay
So
off so much money?
Um, so yeah, I guess at first, I refinanced. I mean, it took me at least a year and a half though to find a good bank that I felt comfortable with good, with a good rate. And this was pre-COVID. I'm sure now with COVID you can get better rates, but this is pre-COVID. I got a really good one. I would say. I mean, my loans were from 5, 6, 7, as most people have federal, to 3.4, I believe, back then.
Nice.
And
That's pretty
even though
good
that
for
I
back
couldn't,
then.
yeah, it made a huge difference. And I did not do lump sum payments every single month because I realized that I like having the security and the safety net of having something in the bank just in case something happens. I mean, for example, COVID
Hmm.
hit and I lost my job, and all of a
Oh, wow.
sudden, having that little cushion really helped me through those months to even continue my agreement with the bank to keep making payments. I didn't stop, but obviously all those lump sums were put on hold. But yeah, I kind of set up quarterly goals. So 4 years, 4 times a year, I would drop a significant amount, and it almost became as like a fun challenge. Like it's a lot of money, dropping 25, $30,000 in one shot. But then you would see how the whole balance readjusts. My interest rate, my interest payment also readjusts. And you see that you were going from paying $900 to $500. So that was significantly motivating. And it
Yeah.
kept snowballing, and it became a good challenge, a healthy one. And that's how, yeah, eventually it got paid off.
Amazing. I love that strategy of using your debt payoff money as kind of an emergency fund, in the short term. Where did you put that money that you're gonna put towards your loans every quarter?
So I had an emergency fund for sure, because this is besides the loans, but
Good.
it's just
Awesome.
it's just for me to have extra. You know what I mean? Like, let's say when you have a debt that is so low in interest, I feel like it opens up the possibilities for other things. I was focused on paying off my debt, but at the same time, I was mindful of any other opportunities that could arise. I don't know, from buying a property or even a practice that could come up, and I could, purchase it or whatnot. I was never close to that idea, but in the meantime, since nothing was coming up, and the only thing that I really had was the loan, that's where I ended up focusing on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kept everything in one single account, and as soon as that I had enough to hit that goal, I just dropped it on the loan, the actual loan.
Okay. So you basically kept it in a checking account.
Correct. Well, I kept it in
Okay.
a high savings, high yield
High
savings
yield
account.
savings. Okay. All right,
Mhm.
great. Awesome. And were you, speaking of investing, were you investing alongside, like in
Well,
your 401k?
right. Yeah, I started my 401k, so I've been maxing that out. I haven't been doing anything like backdoor IRA or whatnot. But I did my 401k, and yeah, now is that where I'm actually considering doing other stuff. I started investing in, uh, just regular ETFs and whatnot, but in the beginning was mostly 401k, savings, and loans.
Great. So, I really like that idea of just beginning with your career, with paying off debt, and using that time to make some progress on your net worth by paying off debt, but also using that time to learn about investing and kind of plan how you're going to invest once all this money has been paid off. So, what are you planning on doing with all the extra cash flow that you have now?
So I am, I've been thinking of maybe purchasing real estate, or now I'm building up some savings to, let's say, the practice ownership opportunity arises. And just
Hmm.
enjoying life a little bit more. And, uh,
Nice.
you know, I work hard this last few years. I did take on in shifts. I mean, this is not, I work 5 and 6 days a week. And now I can finally, I mean, I'm doing this on my day off that I purposely took so I can, have a Friday off during the summer. That's something that I've never done before. And I could have, but I
Awesome.
chose not to. So that way it feels sweeter now. And um, I just feel like initially it is so much easier to grow on your income rather than to downgrade. Imagine graduating and getting, not to offend anybody, to each his own, but personally, just if I graduated and got, I don't know, like Mercedes right away, and then turns out, oh, maybe that wasn't a great idea, and I have to downgrade to a Honda. I personally prefer to get to that Mercedes point slowly. That's what I've been doing my
Yes.
whole life. It has worked out, and yep.
That's amazing. Yeah, actually, we didn't cover how much your income has been throughout this payoff period. How much has it been?
So I started on a good salary, so it was 275, and then eventually went up as I was picking up shifts, working 5 and 6 days a week, so 385 to 390.
Nice. And are you single?
I am single, no kids, so yeah. Well, in a relationship, but no kids.
Oh, someone's on the
Well, I'm in a
market.
relationship, but no kids.
Oh, in a relationship. Sorry,
Yes,
I missed
yes.
that. Okay. All
Yep.
right, just kidding. She's off the market.
Yes.
So wonderful. Yeah, for someone who's single and unmarried but in a relationship making almost $400,000 a year, it's so easy to get distracted and get sucked into the lifestyle inflation and the Diderot effect of upgrading and upgrading and upgrading and needing more upgrades. It's so smart that you took the initial time after your training to just pay off debt, hunker down and build yourself a solid financial foundation, and then upgrade. Now that you're debt free, that you don't have student loans, you can enjoy life a little bit more, work a little less if you want to, and slowly get to that Mercedes point, like you said.
Or at the end, it doesn't. No, but I think what can be very daunting, and this is what I perceive from a lot of my peers that I talk to about this, I guess, philosophy of doing this. It's, the whole living like a resident is not very appealing. I mean, we've been in school for 10 years, 10-year plus. We just want to move on with our lives and do this and do that. But I have to be, I mean, I didn't necessarily live like the rest. I had to get a new car because I was driving farther. I did have to move to like a higher cost of living area. I did travel some. I mean, I didn't, but I just budgeted and I planned for it. I wasn't living in rice and beans. I was, being just more mindful of my spending. If I was able to live as a resident on $40,000 a year, $40,000 a year, I can easily continue that and still like enjoy way less than 100 and still have this surplus that needs to go somewhere. And just focusing on one thing and keep going.
Awesome. Yeah, you utilize the power of your huge shovel that you have with your income, and with just a little bit of mindfulness about your spending, you were able to make so much progress and you still enjoyed life. I love this story. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming up on this episode and sharing your story with us. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me. It's been quite a goal for me to do this, and just being on the show is just cherry on top of the ice cream. So I very much appreciate it, and I thank you guys for everything that you're doing for the community and help us out sharing a light on finances, on so many people that truly, truly need it. From the bottom of my heart and everyone that listens to you, thank you, and thank you to Dr. Dali, because he's absolutely amazing.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad we were able to make a positive difference in your life. And thank you for doing the same for the people coming up behind you.
You're welcome.
That was such a great story. I really found it interesting how she put all her extra money in her checking account until 4 times a year she would put a big lump sum towards her loans. And that's actually really smart. In case you need that extra cash for a little bit, you have it. And it did work out really well for her in the when she lost her job during COVID. That was brilliant. I also really thought it was inspiring how she paid off so much debt while living almost in New York City. And she was still enjoying life. She was still doing what she wanted to do. She was still traveling, but she was just a little bit more mindful about her money and learned how to budget. And that really gave her the power to be able to pay off so much money in such a short amount of time. Really great. Another great point she made was about the capitalization of interest. And if you can pay off some of the interest that you have accruing before it capitalizes, right as you get out of school, that's a huge gain. The ROI there is amazing because then you don't have that capitalized interest also acting as principal and earning more interest as you go on. So if you can get that before you refinance, and refinancing is a point where interest capitalizes onto your principal. If you can do that before, amazing. Please do that. Thank you so much for listening today. It's been such a pleasure. Today's episode is sponsored by DLP Capital. If you want to invest with a high growth impact investor that believes in doing well while doing good, we encourage you to check out DLP Capital. DLP stands for Dream, Live, Prosper. Their equity and debt real estate backed investments build wealth and prosperity for all their members, investors, clients, and partners. Plus, their funds have historically had zero losses. Their unique fee structures means they don't make money until you make money. Find out more at whitecoatinvestor.com/DLP. Thank you so much for listening to the Milestones to Millionaire podcast. This is your host, Dr. Disha Spath. Keep your head up, shoulders back. You've got this. We can help at the White Coat Investor. The hosts of the White Coat Investor podcast are not licensed accountants, attorneys, or financial advisors. This podcast is free entertainment and information only. It should not be considered professional or personalized financial advice. You should consult the appropriate professional for specific advice relating to your situation.